Check out FlipsideGaming.com for all your gaming needs. Use the promo code HEROES to save 10% on all orders over $10. Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to another edition of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch. A lot to talk about today. First off, many players are building new commander decks based on cards from Dominaria United products. You're going to see that as the key driver throughout the video today for card prices moving. Warhammer 40K previews occurred this week, so we now know all the cards that are coming in those commander decks. And, of course, those are having an impact on some card prices, plus there's other things to discuss too. Today's threshold is going to be $2. We're not going to talk about any card unless it's moving at least $2 up or down. Quickly, before we get into all the details, just a fast reminder, if you go to FlipsideGaming.com, you can use the Heroes promo code to save 10% on orders over $10. Currently, you can pick up Dominaria United products there. They also did have Warhammer 40K commander decks on their site for pre-order recently, but they did sell out. Check back in case they offer more, but there's also a whole lot of other things on their website. Remember, if your order is over $100 or consists only of singles, shipping will be free in the United States. Also, whenever you use the Heroes promo code, it does support the channel, which is always appreciated. So thank you. And without any further ado, let's get into it. We'll begin with the Standard Legal Spotlight. Of course, this is where we discuss the Standard Legal cards moving the most this week. There's one going down in value and a number of them going up. Remember, rotation just occurred. There's a lot happening in this environment right now. The card moving down is Timeless Lotus. It goes down $2.45 this week to $26.39. Now, this did have a high price coming out of the pre-release season. It is the lone card from the main set moving down in a significant way this week. I have seen some control decks trying this out in Standard with Teferi Who Slows the Sunset, but so far that doesn't seem to be catching on. Commander is a different story, though. I am seeing this in a lot of 5-color builds, including a popular new one, which you're going to hear a lot about today, Jodah the Unifier. A lot of players are building around this card right now. This is also a good upgrade to the new Painbow Commander deck, and it's in fresh builds around a couple cards from there, Jared Carthalion and Jensen Carthalion Druid Exile. First card moving up is Silverback Elder. This goes up $2.78 to $13.76. This is starting to see some standard play in some different decks, including mono green fight rigging. It's also in many commander builds now, old and new, including Green Sleeves Morrow Sorcerer, which is one of the new Dominaria United Eternal Legal cards. Teferi Who Slows the Sunset. This is the copy from Innistrad Midnight Hunt. It goes up $2.91 this week to $13.52. So far, decks with black have been dominating Standard, but this is in some of the Jeskai and Azorius control builds floating around. In Pioneer, this is in Nykthos ramp builds, and that's really why this card has been hot recently. Plus, this is in a number of commander decks, including Atraxa Praetor's Voice, even showing up in some new builds like Jodah the Unifier and Shanna Purifying Blade. Others are picking this up to upgrade the Painbow commander deck or to put in fresh builds around Jared Carthalion. Additionally, remember, Brothers War is right around the corner. Maybe we'll get some more artifacts that interact well with this. I'm still never going to get used to this. Liliana of the Veil from Innistrad goes up $3.82 to $76.58. Yep, this was printed, of course, in Dominaria United. It is Standard Legal now. Between this, Sheoldred the Apocalypse, Cut Down, Evolved Sleeper, The Cruelty of Gix, and other strong cards in black, the color really got a push in this new post-rotation Standard. In Standard, you're going to see Liliana all over the place. Mono Black Midrange, Rakdos Midrange are two of the popular builds right now, but it's in a lot of other decks too. It is also starting to show up in some Pioneer builds like Mono Black Devotion and Orzhov Greasefang, as well as others. And you already knew this was a big modern card. It's in Rakdos Midrange Scam, as well as Jund there. And it's getting additional commander play now in some new builds like Sheoldred the Apocalypse, Braids Arisen Nightmare, and Jodah the Unifier. Wedding Announcement, but this is the one from Innistrad Double Feature, jumping up $7.35 this week to $10.96. Now, this particular copy is dry online this week, which is why you're seeing this price inflation. I don't really think anybody's paying $10.96 for this card right now, but I'm not surprised to see it go up in value. It is getting a lot of play. Standard, this is an Esper and Orzhov midrange and much more. Pioneer, this is in mono white as well as Orzhov humans. The mono white version of that deck is seeing a good amount of play. This also gets a little commander play, but could be a decent upgrade to one of the Warhammer 40K commander decks. Forces of the Imperium has a small aggressive token theme. Here is the front-facing commander as well as one of the legendary creatures from this product. Inquisitor Greyfax is the front-facing commander. You see that card on the left. The potential commander, though, that might appreciate Wedding Announcement even more is the card on your right, Marneus Kelgar. Next, we have Sheoldred the Apocalypse. This goes up $11.49 this week to $49.98, and this is seeing a lot of play right out of the gate. In Standard, this is also in Mono Black and Rakdos Midrange, plus much more. It's already a very popular commander, and it's in the 99 of many builds old and new, including Braid's Arisen Nightmare. The last card in this section is a big mover, the Meat Hook Massacre. The Innistrad double feature copy up $7.42 to $67.95. The Innistrad Midnight Hunt copy goes up $16.03 to $69.88. No surprise here. This is a legendary enchantment in black. It is seeing a lot of play right now in Standard. You're going to see this again in Mono Black Midrange, Rakdos Midrange, and much more. Pioneer, this is in Mono Black Devotion, and this is now seeing increased commander play and builds around some Dominaria United cards too. Sheoldred the Apocalypse, Elis Ilkor Sadistic Pilgrim, Braid's Arisen Nightmare, Zur Eternal Schemer, Namada Primeval Warden. This also could be a good upgrade to one of the Warhammer 40K commander decks too. This time the deck is Necron Dynasties. Here is the front-facing commander as well as one of the legendary creatures from this product, Zarek the Silent King, and Illuminor Zurus. That brings us to the Pioneer Legal Spotlight. Again, just one card moving down in value and then a whole bunch going up. Emrakul, the Promised End, is down $2.12 this week to $75. This was jumping aggressively not too long ago, but now it continues to retract and find its price point based on the play it currently sees. Modern is the main reason this was hot recently, though. Omnithocus of Creation builds have been performing really well, gaining momentum, and this is in those decks. This is also an Amulet Titan there and more. It is sometimes used as a commander, and it's part of the 99 of many builds in that format, including Kozilek the Great Distortion, but it's also in new commander builds too, like Jodah the Unifier and the Peregrine Dynamo. Jegantha the Wellspring, first card moving up in this section, it goes up $2.25 to $6.14. In Pioneer, this is in Boros Aggro, Rakdos Sacrifice, and more. In Modern, you see this in Grixis Death Shadow, Asmo Food, Mono Red Aggro. Commander, though, has been the format pushing it this week. It's in that new Jodah the Unifier build, plus it is a good upgrade to the Painbow Commander deck, found in new builds around the two cards I mentioned earlier from there as well, Jared and Jensen. In fact, this was mentioned as a good upgrade for Painbow in an episode of the Command Zone podcast this week, which may have brought some attention to it. Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth is next. This is the copy from Ultimate Masters. It goes up $307 to $38.39. This was in the list from Modern Horizons 2 through Innistrad Crimson Vow. In Pioneer, you see this in Rakdos Midrange and Sacrifice. Modern, it's in Yawgmoth, 8-Rack, Mono Black Coffers, and more. In Legacy, you see this in Mono Black Depths, also Colorless Cloudpost, and more there. Plus, it is a huge commander card in many different builds, including some new ones, like Sheoldred the Apocalypse, Jodah the Unifier, and Braid's Arisen Nightmare. Isika, God of the Tree, is next, up $3.10 to $11.55. This has been a popular commander, found in the 99 of many builds too. Now it's getting even more play in that format thanks to Dominaria United with its support for legendary spells. This is in that popular new commander build, Jodah the Unifier. And Isika is also a very good upgrade to the Painbow Commander deck, and it's in fresh builds again around those same two cards, Jared and Jensen. Battlefield Forge. Now this is the original Apocalypse copy. It goes up $3.75 this week to $11.50, and yes, this did dry up online this week. The other copies stayed relatively stable, and there's a lot of them. This has been reprinted a lot, including very recently in the new Legends Legacy Commander deck. But if you want a copy with a classic frame, this is your only choice, and I do think that's why this and some of the other Apocalypse Painlands have been getting a little bit hot recently. In Pioneer, this is in Boros and Artifact Aggro, and of course, you know this is a huge Commander mana-based card, and it is seeing play in some fresh builds around a couple cards from Legends Legacy, the Hadabinder of Wills, and Shanid Sleeper's Scourge. Last card in this section is Mox Amber, up $6.21 this week to $61.84. This is in the Modern Izzet as well as Jeskai Breach builds, and those decks are performing well right now in the format. In fact, Izzet came in first and Jeskai came in third in a recent Star City Games Modern 20K. Additionally, this is another card you see in those Jodah the Unifier commander decks too, and it is in Murray, a Scholar of Antiquity commander builds too. Plus, I have seen this used to upgrade the Legends Legacy commander deck, and added to fresh builds around a card from there, Shanid Sleeper's Scourge. That brings us to the Modern Legal Spotlight. Got some cards going down, some cards going up. Let's take a look. Greater Oromancy down 203 to 5568. This continues to decline after some recent increases. You do see it in enchantment-heavy commander builds, including a new one, Zur Eternal Schemer. Ulamog, the Infinite Gyre. This is the one from Double Masters 2022, trying to find its price point. It goes down 212 this week to 3263. It's in many commander builds, including Kozilek the Great Distortion. The Double Masters copy of Doubling Season goes down 245 this week to 89.99, and this copy is retracting after some recent increases. Huge commander card. It's in a lot of builds, including a Drechsler Praetor's Voice. This is in new commander decks too, like Ivy Gleeful Spell Thief and Joda the Unifier. Ball Lightning from the Dark is next. It goes down 246 this week to 53.49. Ball Lightning is one of the Magic 30th Anniversary promo cards, but typically this original copy has a life of its own regardless of other printings. Although, as you can see, it is going down this week. It is getting a little more commander play now around a new card, Garna Bloodfist of Kjell. Polluted Delta, the original Onslaught copy, also going down 246, this time to 96.79. We saw this bump up last week, it retracts this week, but it's a fetch land, you know it sees a ton of play. In Modern, this is in Murktide Regent, Grixis, Death Shadow, and much more. Legacy, it's in Izzet Delver, Reanimator, and more there. Vintage, 4-color Tinker, Doomsday, and more in that format too. And of course, this is a huge commander land card. It does see some play in some new builds too, including Joda and one of the Dominaria United box toppers, Tetsuo Imperial Champion. Last card going down today is Kozilek Butcher of Truth. This is the Ultimate Masters copy. It goes down 249 to 45.13. And this was in the list for Strixhaven and Modern Horizons 2, but the reason it's been soft is because it was reprinted in Double Masters 2022 recently. In Modern, sometimes you see this in Mono Green Tron and Eldrazi Tron. Legacy, it's a Mono Green Cloudpost, and it also is a solid commander card in lots of decks, including Kozilek the Great Distortion. And I've even seen this in some Joda the Unifier builds now too. First card moving up in this section is Magosi the Water Veil. It goes up 449 this week to 499. Pretty big percentage jump here. It currently sees a little commander play, but it's moving this way now because of a new card from the Warhammer 40K Necron Dynasties commander deck. The card is called Out of the Tombs, and if you have this, Magosi and Nesting Grounds to move the Eon counters, you can get an infinite turn combo going. Having a way to untap Magosi the turn it comes into play would help too. Probably not the easiest combo to pull off in Commander since it does not involve a commander, but I'm sure many are going to try, and I'm also sure many speculators are going to pick up Magosi just in case. Mindbreak Trap is next, up 449 this week to 37.82. This is a solid Legacy and Vintage sideboard card to deal with strategies like Storm, and we have been seeing more of that going on in both those formats recently. In Legacy, you see this in Mono Green Cloudpost, Mcfadden, and more. Vintage, this is in Doomsday, Aggro Shops, and more there. And this gets a little commander play too in different builds. Auntie's Hovel is up 12.22 this week to 31.67. We saw this starting to dry up online last week, continues to dry up this week. Modern Goblin decks are seeing a little more play, and they've been doing pretty good. They did get a decent addition from Dominaria United in the form of Rundvelt Hordemaster, and this is also in Goblin-centric commander builds like Wart Bogart Auntie. Unbound Flourishing is next. Modern Horizons up $9.28 to $15. The copy from the list up $18.72 to $24.22. That one jumped quicker because there were a lot less copies of that one online this week. Don't know if people are really paying $24.22 for this quite yet, but we'll have to kind of see where this goes. Now, this does get some commander play currently in Zixara the Exemplary as well as some other builds, but the reason it's hot right now is because of another one of the Warhammer 40K commander decks. The deck is called Tyrannid Swarm, and here's the front-facing commander on the left, the Swarm Lord, and another legendary creature from the deck, Magus Lucia Kane. Magus is probably the commander you want to build around with Unbound Flourishing, but overall, the deck has a lot of synergy with the card. And the last card in this section is Sazon, Perverter of Truth. It goes up 24.02 this week to 33.53. This is getting a big push right now in a new commander build, and that is Sheoldred the Apocalypse. But there's another reason some people might be interested in this card. There are some demons in the upcoming The Ruinous Powers Warhammer 40K commander deck. Basically, it's a Cascade deck with a demon sub-theme. Let's take a look at the front-facing commander, Abaddon the Despoiler. And then on your right side is another legendary creature from that product that might be the one you want to build around if you were to try to make a demon deck, Be'lakor the Dark Master. That takes us to the Vintage Spotlight. This is where we talk about cards that see play in Legacy, Vintage, or cards that are just popular among collectors this week. Now in this section, the price you see on the screen, at least for some of the cards, might be a little more reminiscent of what you might see on a price tracking website. And that's because, at least in some cases, the cards we talk about don't get a lot of sales in any given week, so we do have to lean a little harder on asking price. Also, for the older, more iconic cards, the price you see might fall in between the price of a high-grade raw and high-grade graded copy. But if that value you see is not at least close to the middle, I'll let you know. Or just in general, if the price you see on the screen is not lining up with what I'm seeing for recent sales, I'll point that out. First, we have Minsk and Boo Timeless Heroes up $9.50 this week to $24.46, and this has started appearing at times in some Legacy builds. 5-color Zenith, 4-color Stoneblade, sometimes Naya Depths. It's also a fairly popular new commander, and it appears in the 99 of some builds too, including a new one, Jodah the Unifier. Plus, I have seen some picking it up as an upgrade to Painbow or to add in fresh builds around Jared Carthalion. On top of that, this will be a good upgrade to one of the Warhammer 40K commander decks, Tyranid Swarm. There's a ton of cards in that deck that would play well with this. Next, we have a mountain, but not any mountain, the one you see on the screen from Battle Royale. It goes up $9.63 in theory to $11.62. And this does happen from time to time. Sometimes someone just wants to grab a bunch of copies of a particular hard-to-find basic land for a deck or a few decks. They disappear all at once, leaving just overpriced copies for sale, and that's why you get this quick inflation that's not entirely accurate. Typically, the price trends back down over time as more copies of that land come back to the market. Many times when this does happen, it is with white border basics, and some players do prefer those. They stand out when you fetch. Colossus of Sardia from Antiquities, the original. It goes up $12.40 to $62.75. Seems like this set has the attention of some buyers right now. This is not the only Antiquities card in the section today. Magical Hack from Unlimited of $16.23 to $43.72. Ring of Maruf goes up $19.03 to $208.54. Here's another Antiquities card. This one was moving last week too. Hercules Recall up $23.27 to $126.82. Argivian Archaeologist. Now here's an Antiquities card that is on the reserve list. It goes up $27 to $300. And finally in this section we have Guardian Beast up $150 and a cent to $1,449.99. Is that for real? Well, high-grade raws have been selling for just over $1,000. I haven't seen any high-grade graded copies sell for a while, but when one does, this price is not out of the question. That's going to bring us to the Commander Spotlight, and all the cards in this section are moving at least in part because of Commander, although there could be other factors, and in some cases Commander might not even be the key driver, but I'll let you know as we go through. Mox Opal, the copy from Modern Masters 2015. It goes up $2.12 this week to $75.11. This is in a lot of Commander decks, including some new ones, Maria Scholar of Antiquity, and Tetsuo Imperial Champion. In Legacy, this is in Painter, 8-cast, and more. Vintage, you see this in Paradoxical Outcome. Bloom Tender from Mystery Booster goes up $2.26 this week to $13.49. Now, Wizards did sell some more Mystery Booster Convention Edition boxes as part of a secret layer bundle called Festival in a Box, so there could be more copies of this coming. This did lose some value recently because it was reprinted in Double Masters 2022. Now, it is rebounding some, though. It is a very popular Commander card, which is seeing more play now in new decks. Jodah the Unifier is one. This is also another good upgrade to Painbow, and good in new builds around Jared and Jensen from there. Here is the Time Spiral Remastered copy of Master of the Pearl Trident. It goes up $2.34 this week to $7.30, and this has been in Merfolk Commander builds like Kumina Tyrant of Araska. We did get an Eternal Legal Merfolk from Dominaria United, and some are building Commander decks around this, and of course including Master of the Pearl Trident. The card is called Emperor Mihail II. You'll also find this, though, in Modern and Legacy Merfolk. Legacy Merfolk decks are also running the new Emperor now. Deathcoil Worm. This is the copy from Portal Second Age. It goes up $2.37 this week to $17.12. So this was in the list for Crimson Vow in Neon Dynasty. Then it returned in Commander Legends. Still there now for Dominaria United. Because of that, this original copy of the card has been losing value recently. This week, though, it does bounce back a little bit. In the past, it has seen a little Commander play, but now there is another Eternal Legal card from Dominaria United that's pushing this. It's showing up in Commander builds around Baru Worm Speaker. Mana Crypt, the original book giveaway promo copy, not a big percentage increase, but it's up $2.50 to $344.95. There was also a copy of this in Mystery Booster, but regardless, this original copy always holds a lot of value. It's in lots of commander decks, including some popular new ones like Maria, Scholar of Antiquity, Joda the Unifier, and Sheoldred the Apocalypse. It is also a good upgrade to the upcoming Heads I Win, Tails You Lose Secret Lair commander deck. And it was also mentioned on the Command Zone podcast this week as something you might want to run in a build around the Dominaria United box topper, Aisha Tanaka Armorer. In Vintage, this is in 4-color Tinker, Prison Shops, and more. Font of Mythos up 253 to 959. Now, this is the Conflux copy, but there's also a copy of this in Mystery Booster. This always saw a good amount of commander play, but now it is moving because it is in a commander build around a new card, Sheoldred the Apocalypse. Tenacious Underdog, this goes up 261 to 408, and this is seeing increased commander play in a few new builds, Braids Arisen Nightmare, and to a lesser degree, Sheoldred the Apocalypse, and Elasil Core Sadistic Pilgrim. Beyond that, it's getting a lot of standard play now too in Mono Black Midrange, Rakdos Midrange, and much more. Pioneer, you see this in Rakdos Midrange and Mono Black Midrange there. Oboro, Palace in the Clouds, goes up 279 to 69.90, and this is rebounding after some recent losses. It does see a little commander play in different builds. Modern, though, you'll see this in mill decks, and those are gaining some momentum. Yoshimaru, Ever Faithful, this is one of the Eternal Legal cards from Neon Dynasty. It goes up 299 to 721. It is seeing a big increase in commander play because of Dominaria United. It's in new builds like Joda the Unifier and Radadrabik of Urborg. Plus, it is a good upgrade to the Legends Legacy commander deck, and it's in fresh builds around a couple cards from there, Dihada and Shannon again. On top of that, this was mentioned on a Command Zone podcast episode this week as a card you might want to play in a build around another one of the box toppers, Jetted Ojanin Mercenary. Untaidake the Cloud Keeper. This goes up 352 this week to 741. This is another card seeing much more commander play because of Dominaria United. It is a good upgrade to Legends Legacy, also in fresh builds around those cards we just mentioned, Dihada and Shannon. In fact, this wasn't a Dihada deck on a recent Game Nights episode of the Command Zone podcast. Plus, it's found in some other new commander builds too. Joda the Unifier, of course, Radadrabik of Urborg, and Kadric Soul Kindler. King's Assassin up 376 this week to 1942. It is an older card yet to be reprinted. It does get a little commander play, but there is a Dominaria United box topper that's pushing this one now, and that card is Ramses Assassin Lord. King's Assassin is a hard-to-find pickup for those commander builds. Gemstone Caverns. This is the copy from Time Spiral. It goes up 388 this week to $44. It was part of the list for Adventures in the Forgotten Realms through Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, and it is seeing more commander play now in some new builds, including Maria, Scholar of Antiquity. In Modern, you see this in Crashing Footfalls, Calibrated Blast, and more. Prosper Tomebound. This is the foil copy that comes in the Adventures in the Forgotten Realms Planar Portal Commander deck. It is up 770 this week to 1494. It has been a very popular commander, and now it is showing up in the 99 of a couple new builds, Joda the Unifier being one, of course. Another is Torwoki the Younger, which is a Dominaria United box topper. Plus, this is a good upgrade to that The Runeous Powers Warhammer 40K commander deck we talked about earlier. Black Market Connections is back again. This is from the Commander Legends Battle for Baldur's Gate Party Time Commander deck, and it goes up $813 this week to $38. Like we've talked in previous videos, this is just a very solid commander card, even in a vacuum. It's just good. No surprise it's showing up in new commander builds too, like Sheoldred the Apocalypse, Zur Eternal Schemer, Braids Arisen Nightmare, Torwoki the Younger. This is also a good upgrade to the Legends Legacy deck, and I have seen it in fresh builds around Dihada as well. The Reaver Cleaver, this goes up $881 this week to $1637. This is from the Dominaria United Legends Legacy Commander deck. And much like the previous card, this is just a really solid card in Commander generally. Of course, as you can imagine, it is seeing play in fresh builds around cards from Legends Legacy, Dihada and Shannon. But beyond that, it's in a lot of other Commander builds, both old and new, including, you guessed it, Joda the Unifier. Ultimately, I do think you're going to be seeing this a lot at the Commander table. It does play well with Aggravated Assault, too. Ramos Dragon Engine. This is the Commander 2017 copy. It only comes in foil. It goes up 1314 to 3174. It is a fairly popular commander and has been in the 99 of a number of builds, including the Dragon, but now it is seeing even more commander play, again because of Dominaria United. It's in builds around Joda the Unifier, and it's also a good upgrade to the Painbow commander deck. It was mentioned as such in a recent episode of the Command Zone podcast as well. Beyond that, I have seen it in new builds around a couple cards from that deck too, Jared and Jensen. Last card in this section is Captain Sisay from Invasion. It goes up $24.89 to $49.74. This traditionally always did get some play as a commander and in the 99 of some builds too. As you might have guessed, this is getting more play because of Dominaria United, and this is in Joda the Unifier commander builds too. In fact, this was mentioned as a card you might want to put in those builds in a recent Tolarian Community College video. It was also mentioned on the Command Zone podcast as a card for jetted Ojan and mercenary builds, and since then I have seen it show up in some of those deck lists. That takes us to the premium spotlight. Now every week there's tons of premium cards that are skyrocketing and crashing back down, all sorts of things happening, too much to cover, but I'd like to show you at least one card every week that I think is interesting. This week I chose 4. Now all 4 of these cards are not the type of cards that you typically see graded very often, so I was not able to find any graded prices for any of the cards, but I did see some raw prices. I'll let you know what the general price is based both on sales and asking price, then I'll zero in on what we're truly seeing when it comes to sales. Untaidaki the Cloud Keeper, Champions of Kamigawa's foil copy at $14.76 to $39.99. Is that for real? Well, I have seen high-grade raw copies sell for close to this at around $33, so yeah, this price seems realistic. Unbound Flourishing, the foil from Modern Horizons, is up $18.14 to $29.99. Now, when it comes to high-grade raw sales, I've seen these go for up to $20. As you can see, sellers are trying to stay ahead of the spike, perhaps, but I could see sales creeping up closer to this price. Another Champions of Kamigawa foil here with Saison Perverter of Truth. This is up $20.43 to $64.99. Is that for real? Again, sellers are trying to stay ahead of the spike here. I have seen high-grade raw copies sell for about $45 though. And our last card today is Magosi the Water Veil. This is the foil from Zendikar. It goes up $51.41 to $54.99. Similar story here. I have seen high-grade raw copies selling for about $33 at max, but the sellers are staying ahead of the spike with higher asking prices. Will sales get to that price? I'm a little skeptical, but time will tell. Alright, that's going to do it for this episode of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch. As always, hey, if you made it to the end, thanks for being here. I appreciate that. Until next time, stay safe out there. Hey, thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible through the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.